How you doing, folks? You're listening to the Onward with Onrie podcast. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan, and this week we're kicking off Warrior Month, and our first guest is Alain Burrese. And Alain and I have actually have known each other for a number of years. We both have backgrounds in Korean martial arts. Alain is a Hapkido instructor. He has also recently wrote a book called Survive a Shooting and is now teaching or getting together courses to help other people understand how to react when they're involved in mass shootings. Very important information. And today he's going to talk to us about who he is, what he does, and it's an honor to have you on the show. So, Alain, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, Onrie. It's great to be on this show. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, since we met initially years ago because of Yi Sun-shin.
Yeah, you wrote a really good article about him, and I actually referenced it quite a bit when I was doing my research on this series. So it was cool to see that someone else who wasn't Korean was writing about Yi Sun-shin.
Yeah, I wrote that article initially for the Korea Herald newspaper when I was living in Korea studying Hapkido back in 96, 97, somewhere in there is when I originally wrote that for the newspaper.
Wow. So you started, when did you start doing Hapkido? What was your introduction to Korean martial arts?
The first time, I did some judo in high school, not to black belt level. And then when I went in the Army, I did some Taekwondo and karate, different places, but not to black belt level, just because I was moving around and such so much. When I got out of the Army, the first Hapkido that I did was in 1989 with Dennis Dallas in Helena, Montana. And I didn't live there long enough to get to black belt level either because I moved away. So when I wrote my first book on self-defense for Paladin Press, I didn't have a black belt in anything. I had a smattering of a lot of arts, and I had a lot of practical experience from the jobs I had and plus in the military. Mm-hmm. And people kept saying, what do you have a black belt in? Nothing. This is a book on practical experience. But I wanted to pursue martial arts more, and so I chose Hapkido because out of the ones I had done previously, it was the one I enjoyed the most. I also wanted to go back to Korea because I had served there with the military, and I just wanted to go back. So I went back to Korea in 1996, and that's when I became very serious with Hapkido, and I've been training under that instructor since 1996, and I still go back to see him. Most recently was in February during the Olympics, since his school was only 2 miles from the Olympic Park, so I got to see the Olympics and train with him.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, because and what was cool is right around the time you were in Korea, that was when I was doing Taekwondo, and I actually had gone to train for a summer out there, and it was cool because I think in 2000, in 1988, Taekwondo was recognized as the official as an official Olympic sport, but when I was involved, it was much later, but it was kind of cool to see all the Olympic, I got to meet the Olympic team while I was in Korea too, which was kind of cool. So, it's just being around all that and being in the center of Korea and seeing how all these martial artists are, and they take it very seriously out there too.
They do. And it's, I love Korea. I love the Korean people. The relationship I have with my instructor, Lee Jung-gyu, like I said, it's been over 20 years now. It's just those relationships and the culture, everything about it has been fantastic and a big part of my life. I'm glad you've had some of the same experiences.
Oh, absolutely. And, that it kind of begs me to ask the question. So, here are most people, they graduate high school, they go to college, they major in something, and then they try and find work in that field. You don't have the kind of, if someone were to describe what you do and the way you described what you do, it's not like, you just went out and got a job. You kind of created your own path. Even just the way you're describing your martial arts career, it's not like you have all these different disciplines in your background. So like, what was your mindset? Like, what were you thinking? Like, how did you come to the realization that like, I'm going to make Korea, aspects of Korean culture a part of my career, and I'm going to enroll it into my lifestyle?
I don't know if it was a conscious decision. It's just sort of happened. When I got out of the military and came back from Korea, I went to college. But I wanted to go back to Asia. I've had a passion for Asia since a little kid. I don't know why. I just always had. I went and lived in Japan, and then when I came back to America, then that's when I decided. I wrote my book. That was in '95, and I finished the book and said I want to go back to Korea. So I went back to Korea in '96, and then since '96, I've been going back and forth. I married a Korean woman. When I was there training in Hapkido, she was a teacher at the school that I was teaching English at to pay the bills and to provide the work visa to live there and train in Hapkido. So, that's been part of it too, being married to a Korean woman, and we go back and we see her family. I see my instructor. We see cultural things. We see the Olympics. It's just part of our lives. And so it's never been a conscious decision. It's just sort of evolved into that.
Everything kind of fell in place. Well, as an American, did you ever see any backlash from like your parents or from like, maybe friends? Not necessarily backlash, but like maybe some sort of like, skepticism in what you were doing. Like, or was that just never an issue for you?
It really hasn't been an issue. My parents, my dad was always supportive of me, and other folks have always been supportive. They welcomed my wife when I brought her to the United States into the family. So it really has never been an issue.
Mm-hmm. So you've always just kind of followed your path, and just like whatever you were passionate about, you just kind of allowed yourself to kind of fall into it. That's really amazing.
And yes, there were mistakes along the way.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if they're mistakes, but I went to law school and I played lawyer for a while, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I'm still a licensed attorney, but I don't actively practice because I enjoy teaching and writing and speaking much more, and I feel that I have the skills to help people in that arena where I enjoy rather than help them legally. So
let's get into that. So you're basically, let's talk more about what you're doing right now with, survive a shooting. I think that this is very relevant stuff, given everything that's going on in the world right now. When you have all these active shooter situations, I think it is so important for people to educate themselves and understand how to respond in situations like this, and just understand what to do in general. What led you to this from your background in Hapkido and everything? Like, how did you come to this conclusion that this is what you wanted to do next?
I've always been teaching. I taught in the military. I taught martial arts. I've taught self-defense and safety classes. And then it was when the Aurora shooting happened, the movie theater with the Batman was premiere. At that time, I stood out in front of a Batman movie poster and made a YouTube video committing that I would do something that I could regarding this growing trend that we've been seeing. So I started studying both every book I could get a hold of, every article I could get a hold of, every DVD I could get a hold of. I attended live classes. I became certified by Safariland Training Group to teach their 8-hour course. Mm-hmm. And then I joined a team, which were mostly law enforcement officers and a few others in our community. And we taught that 8-hour course to over 4,000 people in this community. And I was on that team for 3.5 years, gaining the experience and the knowledge that I needed to write this book and then go teach others. And I'm very proud that experts and people that are doing reviews on Amazon are calling this the best book on the topic, because this is the book I wanted 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and it wasn't available. Now it is available for people, and the course that I'm teaching is available as well.
And how are you going about promoting your book? Are you working with a publisher? Are you self-publishing this? Like what's been your approach?
I self-published this so I could do it the way that I wanted and to get it out faster.
That's awesome.
And so it is self-published, but I didn't do everything myself. I needed help with the layout and design and some of that, because I wanted to make it very readable. It's not just a book, a 400-page book of text. There's lots of graphs and pictures and charts and things that will help people understand the concepts better. And so I had help, Kevin Brett did a lot of the layout for me and the cover stuff. And then I had other people, experts in the field, review the book and give input and to get the best book possible. So right now I'm working on redesigning the Survive a Shooting website. I've hired a person, a professional, to design that website. And as soon as she's done, I will be doing even a bigger push to get the book and course out there, doing podcast interviews like this, radio interviews, plans to get on television, and everything I can do to let people know that there are things they can do to stay safe, and you don't have to have the helpless victim mentality that sadly I see many people having.
Absolutely. And this stuff is just so important. I study Krav Maga. I've been doing it for the last year because I was actually at a convention in Phoenix in 2017, and there was an active shooter situation, and fortunately law enforcement was able to apprehend the guy before he could even hit his target, which was a celebrity. He basically had like 2 shotguns, like 4 pistols, and like 2 knives, and they managed to get a lead on him through social media, and they apprehended him. But it was at that moment that happened that I realized, this can happen anywhere. And it doesn't. And you need to be prepared for situations like this. So I think it's really fantastic that you're taking this initiative, and I think it's even more wonderful that you're doing it by yourself. That you're building this by yourself, and this is an incredible undertaking. I mean, I can tell you, as a self-publisher who's building up everything with Yisun Shin, and my other projects, this is just an incredible undertaking, and to have something so relevant and now as this, I think is really incredible. So what kinds of quick tips can you share with the audience, like that some of the things that you like things that you cover in your book?
I think it's important that everybody have a general plan of what they would do in an emergency. And that is after the general advice that I tell everybody. We need to be aware of our surroundings. We need to be aware of exits and escape routes. And we need to pay more attention to the world and not be so stuck in devices. I like to tell people, get your head out of your apps, APPS. Pay attention to the world.
Yeah.
And then the plan is real basic. I teach an active shooter triangle in my book and my courses, because I don't think you can go through a linear process. Like the run, hide, fight is often taught linear. You don't always have that option. Sometimes you immediately have to fight. I like the word attack back better because it's more proactive and offensive to stop the threat. One of the other prongs is escape. And if you can't escape, wonderful, and you need to know those avenues. Sometimes you need to deny the shooter access to you by getting behind cover, by locking and barricading him outside. So those are the 3 prime things that I teach and show people how to do, because that's what you need to do when you respond to one of these.
Yeah, you need to be thinking outside the box. You can't just hope that your plan is going to work, because every situation is unique unto itself. Even no matter what you teach, you can't prepare anybody for every single scenario. You have to. It's really about changing the mindset of the individual and allowing them to adapt to the situation should they be unfortunate enough to find themselves in it in the first place.
It is, and it's also to provide them some tools. I mean, I can tell you, escape, deny, attack back, but what does that really mean? And so you need to give them tools. I teach some strategies, some breathing, and some strategies from Rory Miller on how to break the freeze that comes with us when, we're scared and the adrenaline hits. I teach effective ways to escape, effective ways to deny the attack, and ways that you can attack back, either empty-handed if that's the absolute all you have, but I also teach how to use fire extinguishers as improvised weapons. I'm right now teaming up with a new product called Reflex Protect that I've been advocating, and it's actually being adopted and accepted into some hospitals and schools right now. And I hope to help them get that into more hospitals and schools and help them grow. And they're promoting some of my active shooter training. So we have sort of a good partnership going, because I think it is a good non-lethal product that can help somebody attack back. It's basically a chemical spray that is CS-based instead of OC. It's a gel, and they have a great decontaminant that can come with the product, so you can help the person that is sprayed and clean up the area. And that's why hospitals are saying, yes, we can use this, when they have said no to pepper spray products. So I'm trying to give them tools, not just the information, but tools of how they can do the things that I teach as well.
So let's get back to distribution. You released this book. You're obviously partnering up with other people and other organizations to help, spread awareness and knowledge for individuals. Going back to your book now, what are, aside from Amazon, what are some other ways that you've been trying to sell your book? Like, have you made any public appearances? Do you sell them at seminars? Like, what's been your approach?
They are available when I go teach. I have a schedule for mass, bulk sales. So the goal is to be selling more bulk. The goal is also, as soon as the website is done, again, I wish I would have had the website done at the same time the book was released a month and a half or so ago, 2 months ago, but it just didn't work out that way. So I'm holding off a little bit until that website's done, but the big plan will be doing a lot of radio and then working on trying to get on more television as well. I've already been on 80-some radio interviews over the last number of years, even before I had a book to sell. And I've been on a few television spots, but the goal is to do a lot more now that the book and course are going to be available widely.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of correlation in the kind of work that you're doing to promote your book and the stuff that a lot of comic book creators have to do too. And you have such a different background in all this stuff. Like, essentially, you're playing the role of a publisher right now, but your experience is in martial arts and in law. How have you kind of picked up on this stuff? Like, how do you know how to think like a publisher? What has your experience been with that?
A lot of studying, bookshelves and bookshelves of books on anything that I get interested in. Right now, Dave Chilton, he's the guy that wrote The Wealthy Barber, self-published it and became a millionaire from that and has done a lot of other things. I'm studying a course that he did. I purchased his course on book marketing and selling books. And so right now I'm sort of in the middle of that course and going to be doing things that he suggests. So that's one thing that I'm doing to try to learn how to better market and sell.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm fascinated by how similar our approaches are to what we're trying to do. Like, you have your approach to doing stuff, and you're doing all the same exact things that I would be doing with my, or that I am doing with my comic. Like, there's the platform of bringing the awareness to the audience. And then there's also all the other aspects that come with it, like the marketing, the implementation, all the other, all the other things, the website and everything else that comes with it. And, it just requires a certain type of thinking. I mean, you have that vision, I assume, and that vision is what allows you to it kind of gives you a direction for where you want to go, I assume. Is that kind of how it is for you?
It is, and we're doing similar things. You have the advantage that you're selling something that's really cool. I mean, I have all your comics. I've been buying them. I like the hardcover editions when they come out.
I appreciate that
because it's fantastic artwork. You sold me when you put Yi Sun-shin on the cover, because I've been a fan of Yi Sun-shin for years and years. But they're fantastic artwork, great stories. Where I have to sell something that people don't want to talk about because it's scary.
Really, I would think I would think that your book would sell because people want to learn about this. But I guess I see your point. Like, this is something that people are afraid of, and thus they don't want to think about it. They don't want to prepare themselves for it. They just want to kind of imagine that these situations will never happen to them. And the likelihood of it actually happening is pretty minimal to my understanding, but the importance of being prepared is essential. It's like when they used to have fire drills in school, or they still have fire drills. Like, the chances of the school setting on fire are very slim, but it's important to know what to do should anything ever happen.
Exactly, and that's what I try to get across to people. And I was really glad with Rory Miller's endorsement, because Rory said, I don't like touchy-feely jargon, but this book is actually empowering. Alan isn't trying to scare people. He's giving them information and the tools to empower people so they don't have to be afraid.
Yeah, and I've noticed that from all of your posts, because, I see your posts on Facebook. You are always trying to empower your viewers and your listeners. And I think that's what this is all about, is empowerment. And I wish you the best of luck with this, because I think it's fantastic. In fact, I actually, as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm going to pick up your book, because I just want to, I just want to read it just for my own knowledge, just to say, hey, I know what to do in these situations,
And that's what it's all about. I mean, my little catchphrase, enjoy life safely. I don't want people afraid. I want people to go out and do things. I mean, I had a person recently ask me why I go to movie premieres, because, it was right after the Tom Cruise new movie that he came out with. I saw it at the big giant theater in Mall of America, and he's like, why do you go to these movie premieres? It's like, because I enjoy movies. And like you just said, the likelihood of something happening at a theater is very low. That doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to who's in the theater with me. It doesn't mean I don't know how to get out of that theater, where all the exits are. But I'm not going to stay home and not enjoy things that I enjoy and that my family enjoys. I'm just going to go out and enjoy life, but I'm going to practice safe habits, and that's what I want everybody else to do.
I think that's fantastic. Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show and for giving us some time out of your busy day. It means so much. I wish you the best of luck with everything. Please stay in touch. And thank you for helping us kick off Warrior Month.
Well, thank you, Onrie, and I'll definitely be in touch, because you're putting out more Yi Sun-shin books, and
yes.
I'm going to get every one of them.
Oh, wonderful!
I really do enjoy them.
Excellent. Well, thank you, folks. We'll be on. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, onward to victory.